The market was full of noise, colors, and people, but no one noticed the shadow sitting in the corner. Behind the trash bins, hidden under a torn gray blanket, sat an alien woman. Her skin was pale blue, her cheeks hollow, and her clothes were wet from the cold rain. She held a tiny girl in her arms, wrapped tightly to her chest. The child's lips were dry, her small fingers tugging weakly at her mother's torn dress, searching for food that was no longer there. The alien mother's name was Jira. She was once the wife of a brave soldier from the outer colonies, but the war took everything from her, her husband, her home, and now her strength. Her milk had dried up days ago. She had not eaten in 2 days, and her body had nothing left to give her baby. The child whimpered softly, too tired to cry, too weak to scream. Jera closed her eyes and whispered a prayer, not for herself, but for her daughter. Nearby, a human man named Ray was walking through the market. He was tall, with dark hair and a strong build. He had come here just to buy fuel cells and food supplies for his small repair shop. As he passed the trash bins, something made him stop. A sound, faint and painful, the sound of a baby trying to cry without tears. Ray turned his head and saw a shape under the blanket. He stepped closer. The moment his boot touched the puddle near her feet, Jera's body jerked with fear. She looked up fast, her arms pulling her daughter tighter. "Please," she said, her voice shaking. "We mean no harm. Just pass by." Ray didn't move. He looked at the woman's face, then at the child. His heart tightened. He had seen starving people before, even some from alien races, but this was different. The child's eyes were half closed, her lips gray. The mother's face had no pride left, only desperation. "Is she okay?" Ray asked quietly. Jera didn't answer. She only shook her head and whispered, "She's hungry. I have no milk left. My body has given up." Ray slowly knelt down and opened his bag. He pulled out a protein bar and a small water flask. Jera stared at the items like they were treasures. She didn't grab them. She looked at Ray first, her eyes full of fear. "You won't charge me?" she asked. Ray shook his head. "Take it." She opened the water first, giving it to the child drop by drop. Then she broke off a piece of the bar, softened it in her mouth, and fed it to the girl. The child swallowed weakly, her fingers clutching at her mother's arm. Jera's hands were trembling as she helped her daughter. People around passed by and glanced at them. Some muttered under their breath. "Another alien beggar," one said. "Let the patrol take them," another added. Ray stood up and stared back at the people. He wasn't afraid of their stares. He looked down at Jera and asked, "Where are you staying?" She hesitated, then said, "Nowhere. They kicked us out from the shelter last week." She was crying too loud. "They said we were a problem." Ray sighed. He didn't plan on doing anything more today than running errands, but now he couldn't walk away. He had an empty couch at home, an extra blanket, and some soup left from last night. He didn't know this woman. She wasn't human. But the child in her arms was innocent, and she was suffering. "Come with me," he said. Jera's eyes widened. "Why?" "I have food," he replied, "and heat." Jera looked down at her child. The girl had stopped whimpering. Her small body was pressed against her mother, resting for now. Jera looked back up. "Even if I wanted to, I can't pay you. I don't have credits. I don't have anything left." Ray looked serious now. "You have a child who needs help." "That's enough." She didn't speak. She only nodded slowly. Ray took off his jacket and wrapped it around Jera's shoulders. Then he picked up his bag and motioned for her to follow. Jera stood slowly, her legs shaking. She carried her child close and followed him through the rain. For the first time in days, she felt warmth, not from the jacket, but from a human who didn't turn away. The door creaked open, and warm air spilled into the night. Jera stepped in first, holding her daughter tight against her chest. The little girl's skin was still cold, but her breath was steady now. Behind them, Ray closed the door and locked it. His small repair shop smelled of oil, iron, and something cooking. Jera blinked in the dim light. The walls were rough metal, patched and painted by hand. Tools hung on the sides, parts of machines lay in baskets, and a small electric heater hummed near the corner. A pot sat on the stove, steam rising from it. For her, it looked like another planet. Ray pointed toward an old sofa. "Sit there," he said. Jera nodded and walked slowly, her knees weak. She sat down and laid her child in her lap. The girl moved slightly, but didn't wake. Ray grabbed the thick blanket from a box and gently placed it around both of them. "You're safe here," he said. Ira looked up, unsure if she could believe that. Her kind had not known safety in human cities for years, not after the wars, the curfews, the camps. She had been pushed from one alley to another, sleeping under stairs, hiding from patrols. This was the first time someone gave her a real roof. "What's her name?" Ray asked. Jera brushed hair from her daughter's face. "Linra," she whispered. "She's only 2 cycles old." Ray stirred the pot and poured soup into a cracked bowl. He handed it to Jera with a spoon. "Eat." Slowly. She stared at it for a second. Then, with shaking hands, she dipped the spoon and brought it to her lips. Warmth filled her mouth, then spread through her chest. It wasn't fancy food, just beans and broth, but it tasted like hope. "I don't know why you're helping me," she said. Ray shrugged. "I couldn't leave you there, but I'm not one of you." "I noticed," he said with a small smile. Jera lowered her eyes. "I'm still grateful." Minutes passed. Linra made a soft noise in her sleep. Jera rubbed her back gently. The silence was soft calm. But in Jera's heart, a storm was still there. A question had formed. A request. It felt wrong to say it, but if she didn't ask, her child might not survive the next week. She turned toward Ray. Her hands clutched the blanket tighter. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Ray noticed her stare. "What is it?" he asked. Ira breathed in. "My milk, it's gone. I don't have anything left for her." Ray waited. "She can't eat solid food yet," Jera added. "She needs a mother's milk, and my body is too weak now." He stayed quiet, listening. "There's a clinic," she said slowly. "They sell human milk supplements for alien infants." "But it's expensive," Ray nodded. "How much?" Jera held up 2 fingers. 200 credits for just 1 week's supply. Ray looked away, thinking. 200 credits was nearly what he earned in a week fixing old generators. He had bills to pay, repairs to finish, and barely enough saved. Still, he looked at the little girl's face. Her lips were dry. Her skin still pale. "I'll figure it out," he said. Jera stared at him in shock. "Why would you do that?" "You don't even know me." "I know you're a mother," Ray said, "and she's a child. That's enough." Tears formed in Jera's eyes. She tried to hide them, but one rolled down her cheek. "If only my husband were alive," she said. Softly, "he would have never let us suffer like this." Ray sat on the chair across from her and leaned forward. "What happened to him? He died in the first year of the war. He tried to protect our village. The human army left his body in the dirt." Ray's jaw tightened. He didn't look away. "I don't blame you," she added quickly. "Not all humans are cruel, but after he died, we were branded. His family rejected me. The camps took everything. Linra was born inside one. I ran when the guards tried to take her." Ray stood and walked to a shelf. He pulled out a small box and opened it. Inside were a few credit chips. He counted quietly, then nodded. "I'll get the milk first thing tomorrow." Jera covered her mouth with both hands. "Thank you. I don't know how to repay you." Ray gave a small smile. "Just take care of her. That's enough." Jera leaned back on the couch, pulling Linra close again. The fire heater crackled softly, and the rain outside kept falling. For the first time in months, she didn't feel fear when closing her eyes, but deep inside, she knew this was only the beginning. Something bigger was waiting, something that would test her trust and raise kindness. The morning light broke through the cracked window panes of Ray's small repair shop. The storm had passed, but the streets still smelled of wet dust and smoke from the old reactors nearby. Inside, a soft silence hung in the air. Zahira sat curled up on the couch, her arms still wrapped around little Linra. She hadn't moved much during the night. Ray was already dressed, placing tools into a side bag. He was about to leave for the market clinic to buy the milk when he heard a knock on the door. It wasn't a normal knock. It was sharp. 3 times, precise, too clean for a customer. Ray froze. So did Jera. Her arms instantly tightened around Linra. Ray glanced at her, then moved to the door slowly, keeping his voice low. "Don't speak. Don't move." He opened the door. Just a crack. 2 tall figures stood outside, dressed in dark uniforms. Their coats had the seal of the Civilian Alien Regulation Patrol, CARP, the department in charge of alien registration and deportation. "Morning," one of the officers sighed. His voice was cold, official. "We're doing a standard check. We received a report of an undocumented alien seen in this area. May we come in?" Ray didn't blink. "I live alone." "Anyone visit last night?" the officer asked. "Just the rain," Ray replied. The second officer leaned closer. He held a tablet. "This unit picked up a heat signature from the back alley last night, behind the vendor stalls. Female, not human. She was holding a child." Ray gave a small shrug. "I didn't see anyone." The officer tapped the screen again. "Her name is Jera Vian. Escaped from Camp Sector 8 4 months ago. She's listed as a high-level violator for fleeing with an unregistered child." Ray didn't answer. He kept his hand on the edge of the door. The officer narrowed his eyes. "The child's name is Linra." Jera gasped silently from the couch. Ray stayed calm. "What do you want me to say?" "If you see her," the officer said, "report it immediately. There's a reward." "Right," Ray replied. "Anything else?" The officers looked past him, trying to see inside. Ray didn't let them. After a pause, they nodded and stepped back. "We'll be watching," one of them said. Ray closed the door firmly. He turned to Jera, who looked pale, her chest rising and falling fast. Linra had started to cry again, sensing her mother's fear. "They know your name," Ray said quietly. "They know hers too." Jera looked down. "They scanned us in the camps. I tried to wipe the chip, but it's still in me. Maybe in her too." Ray began to pace. "They'll come again. Maybe next time with a warrant. I don't have enough walls to hide you." Jera stood, unsteady, her eyes wet but determined. "We'll leave. We won't bring danger to your home." "No," Ray said. "They'll catch you in the street within an hour." He rubbed his forehead. "There has to be a way to wipe your ID. Erase the chip." "There is," Jera whispered. "But it's illegal. Very few people know how." "Tell me who." She paused, then said, "An old medic named Yulo. He lives in the tech slums near the city edge. They say he used to help smuggle newborns out of the camps. For the right price, he removes trackers." Ray grabbed his coat again. "I'll find him." Jera grabbed his wrist. "Wait, what if they scan you too? What if they think you're helping a fugitive?" "I am helping a fugitive," Ray said. "And I'd rather help a mother and child than stand by like the rest." She looked at him, her lips trembling. "You're not like other humans." Ray gave a small smirk. "I'm not sure that's a compliment." He grabbed the bag of credits from his workbench and reached for the door again. "Stay here. Don't open the door for anyone." Before he stepped out, he paused. "If I don't come back in 2 hours, take Linra and run." Jera shook her head. "No, I won't leave you behind." Ray didn't reply. He stepped out, the wind catching his coat as he vanished down the alley. Jera sank to the floor, holding her daughter. Her heart beat fast, her mind full of dread. They knew her name. They knew her child. And now a human was risking everything to protect them, but deep down, she felt something even stronger, hope. Asterisk. The tech slums smelled like rust, burnt wires, and danger. Every street was a maze of broken neon signs, leaking coolant, and eyes watching from shadows. Ray walked fast but careful, his coat pulled up, his face low. He didn't belong here, and everyone knew it. He had asked around quietly. Most people stayed silent. One old woman had finally whispered, "You're looking for Yulo? You must be desperate." She pointed to a collapsed dome behind the old recycling towers. Ray reached the building. It looked abandoned, its door half hanging off. Scorch marks on the walls. He stepped inside. The air was thick with steam and the smell of medicine. A dozen machines blinked with half-dead lights. A skeletal man with red cybernetic arms sat behind a table filled with tools. His face was part metal, part scar. One eye was gold, the other was gone. "Yulo?" Ray asked. The man didn't look up. "Who sent you?" "No one. I'm here for help." "Illegal help?" Ray nodded. "There's an alien girl, 2 years old. Her mother escaped the camps. They need their trackers erased." Yulo finally looked up. "You know what happens to people who bring me trouble?" Ray said nothing. The medic stood slowly. "Show me proof." Ray opened a small display and projected Linra's ID scan, the one he had copied from the patrol search file. Yulo stared at it. "They're hunting this one hard, not just a runaway. She's on their watch list. Can you do it?" Yulo walked to a drawer and took out a small, sharp tool. "Yes, but not for free." Ray pulled out his credit pouch. "This is everything I have." Yulo didn't even glance at it. "Keep it. I don't want credits," Ray frowned. "Then what?" The medic walked to a locked box and opened it. Inside was a tiny black disc, worn, but still glowing faintly. "I need access to Sector Grid C," Yulo said. "A man like you works on machines, right? I need you to install this inside a patrol tower." Ray narrowed his eyes. "That's suicide." "Then we're done here," Yulo replied. Turning away, Ray stayed silent. He stared at the small disc. If he planted it, the patrol would track the signal. He'd have maybe 10 minutes before security swarmed the tower. But if he didn't do it, Linra would be caught, and Jera would be dragged back to the camps. "What's on it?" Ray asked. "Data," Yulo said. "Proof of what they did in those camps. Genetic testing. Forced experiments. On children." Ray's fists clenched. "You want to expose them?" "They erased my wife," Yulo said quietly. "She tried to smuggle babies out. They called her a traitor. I found her body in a trash unit." Ray looked down. "Give me the disc." Back at the shop, Jera was pacing. Linra was asleep again, curled inside the blanket, but Jera couldn't rest. Her eyes kept going to the door. Ray had been gone too long. Every sound outside made her jump, then footsteps. The door opened and Ray stepped in. Covered in sweat, a gash across his cheek, Jera rushed forward. "You're hurt." "I'm fine," he said quickly. Yulo agreed to help. "But I have to do something dangerous for him." "What did he ask you to do?" Ray hesitated. "I can't say. Just trust me." "I do," she said without pause. He touched Linra's forehead. "We only get one chance at this. Tomorrow we meet him in the slums," she screamed. "The process hurts. But once it's done, they won't be able to trace her." Jera placed her hand over his. "Thank you. I mean it." Ray looked into her tired eyes. "You don't need to thank me until it's over." That night, neither of them slept much. Ray lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He thought about what he was risking, his home, his freedom, maybe even his life. But he couldn't stop thinking about that little girl's fingers clutching his shirt, about the way Jera looked at her daughter like she was her whole universe. And somewhere deep inside, he knew he wasn't doing this just to be kind anymore. He was doing it because it felt right. The slums were quieter than usual, which made the silence feel heavier, like something was about to break. Ray carried Linra in his arms, her small body wrapped tightly in a brown blanket. She was worn now, healthier than before, but her eyes still looked tired. Jera walked beside him, her fingers curled into the cloth of her old coat. Her heart pounded with each step. She had heard rumors of what happened during chip extractions. The pain, the risk. Sometimes the child didn't wake up. Yulo was waiting at the same ruined dome, his metal hands already prepared with tools, wires, and a humming scanner. "Lay her down here," Yulo said, motioning to a flat table surrounded by flickering lights. Ray did as told. Linra didn't cry. She just stared up, blinking slowly. Jera tried to lean forward, but Yulo raised a hand. "You can't hold her. She might jerk." Jera froze. "Is it going to hurt her?" "Yes," Yulo said honestly, "but only for a minute. I'll numb the nerves after I break the chip's lock." Jera's lips trembled. "Can I sing to her?" Yulo paused, then nodded once. The moment Yulo placed the device on the side of Linra's neck, the child's body jolted. A sharp whine echoed from the machine. Linra's back arched, and then she screamed. It was no normal cry. It was raw, painful, and full of fear. Jera dropped to her knees and started singing in her native tongue. A slow, soft melody only a mother would know. Her voice cracked between words, but she didn't stop. Tears ran down her cheeks, but she never broke the rhythm. Ray looked away. He couldn't watch her cry and feel so helpless. Then the lights flickered. Yulo swore under his breath. "No, not now. What's wrong?" Ray asked, stepping forward. "Something's jamming the system. Someone's using a signal pulse, trying to trace the surgery." Suddenly, all the lights shut off. The machines beeped wildly, then died. Linra was still. "Get her up!" Jera screamed. Yulo worked fast, grabbing a handheld tool from his fur pocket. "Backup power. Just hold on." Ray turned to the door. "How long do we have?" "Minutes," Yulo replied. "If they're already scanning, they'll be here soon." Outside, engines roared. Jera clutched her child, who was breathing, but shallow. What did they do to her? She whispered. "I broke the chip," Yulo said, sweat on his brow. "She's untraceable now, but her body went into shock." Ray grabbed a canister and slammed it into the backup generator. A small hum returned to life, powering the room just enough for emergency light. Red warning symbols flashed on the walls. "They're close," Ray said. "We need to go." Now Yulo ran to a back panel. He pressed a hidden button. A wall shifted, revealing a narrow tunnel that led beneath the slums. "Take her," he told Jera. "Follow the tunnel. There's an old train shaft on the other side. It leads to the upper sector. They won't follow there without permits." Ray held the door. "What about you?" Yulo smirked. "Someone has to slow them down." Jera held Linra close and stepped into the tunnel. Ray followed last. As he looked back, Yulo tossed in the disc from before. "You might need this," he said, "if things get worse." The wall closed just as the outer door exploded. Jera stumbled forward, her legs weak, her baby whispering in her arms. "I'm here, Linra. I'm here. Don't let go." They ran for what felt like forever. Dust filled the air. Pipes hissed from cracks. Ray's shoulder brushed against cables hanging loose from the ceiling. The farther they went, the colder it got. Finally, they saw a metal ladder. It led up to an old hatch. Ray climbed first and opened it slowly. Above, the train shaft was silent and abandoned. Rusted tracks stretched into the dark. The city's skyline blinked faintly in the distance. He helped Jera out. She collapsed to her knees, her body shaking, still clutching Linra. The child stirred, her fingers twitching, and then finally she cried. A weak sound, but alive. Jera burst into tears and rocked her daughter. "You're okay. You're okay." Ray sat beside them, watching the city lights. "They know we're running now." Jera looked up, her eyes full of fire and fear. "Then we don't stop, not until she has a life," Ray nodded. "We keep moving." And from the shadows behind them, a pair of glowing eyes watched. Waiting. Some men follow orders. Others enjoy the hunt. In the control tower near Camp Sector 8, a long shadow stepped away from a blinking map. His skin was gray like stone, with sharp yellow eyes that didn't blink often. His name was Varnak, once a soldier in the alien wars, now a bounty agent for the Human Alliance. But unlike others, he didn't chase fugitives for money, he hunted for sport. And Jera Vian was on his list. He touched the side of his helmet. "Tracking confirmed. She's alive. The child too. I'm moving now." No one argued. Above the ruined train shaft, Ray stood guard while Jera and Linra rested behind a broken wall. They had found an old maintenance room to hide in. It had no lights, no bed, only silence and dust. But it was better than nothing. Jera sat in the corner, cradling Linra. The child was awake now, her head resting against her mother's chest. Her eyes still held fear, but she was breathing normally. "She's better today," Ray said, crouching beside them. Jera nodded. "Her color is back, but she's hungry again." Ray reached into his pack. "Only 2 bars left." "I'll take half," Jera said. "Give her the rest." Ray handed her the food and leaned against the wall. "I've been thinking. We can't keep hiding. They'll keep sending people." Jera looked up. "Then what do we do?" "We go farther," Ray said. "Beyond the outer districts, past the trade lines. There's a place near the wastelands. A colony where humans and aliens live together. No patrols, no scans." Jera blinked. "That place is real?" "I've seen it," Ray answered. "I helped build power lines out there before the camps began." Before she could reply, Linra sat up quickly and pointed to the corner. "Mama, someone's there." Ray turned fast, pulling out his old plasma cutter. "Stay behind me." The air grew cold. A soft click echoed in the dark. Ray felt the pressure first. A presence. Then came the voice. "You've always been good at helping the wrong kind, human." Varnak stepped out of the shadows, slow and silent like a ghost. His body was covered in black armor, marked with the symbols of Camp Sector 8. His right hand was wrapped around a glowing device. His left held a small tranquilizer pistol. Jera's eyes widened in terror. "No, not him." Varnak smiled. "Hello, Jera. I told you back in the camp, if you ran, I'd come for your daughter." Ray stepped between them. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me." Varnak tilted his head. "Brave, but foolish. You think kindness can beat training?" Ray raised the plasma cutter. "I think kindness is stronger than anything you ever learned." Varnak fired the tranquilizer, fast. Ray dodged barely. The dart hit the wall behind him. Jera pulled Linra close and tried to move back, but there was nowhere to run. Varnak stepped closer. "She's not worth your life, human. Give her to me, and I'll let you walk away." Ray didn't answer. He lunged. The plasma cutter sparked as it met Varnak's armor, slicing across the hunter's side. Varnak growled and struck back hard, his fist hitting Ray's ribs. Ray fell but didn't drop the weapon. Jera screamed, holding Linra and crawling to the corner. "Still protecting trash," Varnak muttered. "You humans are soft." Ray stood again, coughing. "She's not trash, she's a mother. Then she dies with her child." Just as Varnak raised his pistol again, Linra screamed. A loud, piercing sound. High-pitched, full of fear and energy. The sound wasn't normal. Via RNAK froze. His armor began to spark. Jera covered Linra's mouth in shock. Her cry, it's affecting electronics. Ray looked up. She's half human, but she has something else in her. That scream was like a sonic pulse. Varnak dropped his weapon. His body glitching. Ray rushed forward and slammed the cutter into the side of the hunter's helmet. Sparks flew. Varnak fell back, unconscious. Breathing hard, Ray looked at Linra. The child whimpered, her head against her mother's shoulder. She didn't mean to do it, Jera whispered. She was just scared, Ray nodded, but it saved us. He knelt beside Varnak's body and pulled a chip from the hunter's belt, a tracker. Then he crushed it under his boot. Jera stared at Ray. They'll send more. I know, he said. Which is why we leave tonight. She looked down at Linra. She's changing. Whatever they did to her in the camps, it made her something different. Ray placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we protect her, no matter what. And far behind them, a signal flashed red, warning the authorities that the hunter had failed. The sun never reached the edge of the wasteland. Thick gray clouds hung low, and the wind tasted like sand and ash. But to Ray, Jera, and Linra, it was the closest thing to freedom they'd felt in weeks. They had made it. The hidden colony on the outskirts, known only as Hollow Nest, had opened its gates after Ray spoke a name, a friend from his old work days. The walls were made of scrap metal, and the homes were buried under thick domes. But no patrols flew here. No scanners scanned. Number. One asked questions, not just peace. For the first time, Jera walked without fear. She helped plant seeds in the colony's greenhouse. She smiled when Linra ran barefoot through the dirt. Ray repaired broken power lines and shared meals with strangers who didn't care what species you were, as long as you could work and be kind. And then, it happened. One afternoon, as Ray sat under the canopy fixing the solar panel, Linra ran to him, carrying a stuffed cloth doll someone had given her. She climbed into his lap, looked into his eyes, and said in a soft voice, Papa. Ray blinked. Jera, standing nearby, dropped the basket she was holding. Linra hugged his neck. You're my papa now, right? Ray swallowed hard, placing a hand on her small back. If you want me to be. Jera didn't speak, but her eyes were shining. That evening, the three of them sat around a small fire, sharing soup and laughter. For one short night, they were not hiding, not running. They were just a family. But safety never lasts long for people like them. The signal had reached the capital 2 days ago. The loss of the hunter, Varnak, had triggered something far worse. A special task force. Trained, silent, and cruel. They didn't knock. They didn't ask. They erased. And now one of their stealth ships was gliding silently over the desert. Inside Hollow Nest, no one saw it. Not until the alarms began to wail. Ray shot up from his sleep, grabbing his jacket and tools. Stay inside, he shouted to Jera. No, she said, already pulling Linra into her arms. We stay together. Ray looked toward the main gate, metal lights flashing red, figures in black armor climbing over walls like insects. They found us, he muttered, and they're not here to capture. They're here to erase. One of the colonists ran past. Evac routes. South tunnel. Ray grabbed Linra and pulled Jera close. We go now. But as they ran, a voice echoed across the sky. Robotic, cold. Hand over the experimental child, or the entire colony will be purged. Jera's knees weakened. They don't want me. They want her. Ray's jaw clenched. Then they'll have to take us all. At the southern tunnel, the entrance was already half closed. Dozens of colonists pushed through. Ray and Jera ran toward it when a blast hit the ground nearby, sending them flying. Jera fell hard, shielding Linra with her body. Ray jumped back to his feet, grabbed them both, and pulled them behind a metal cart. We can't outrun them, he said. But we can end this. How? Jera cried. They have weapons, machines. Ray reached into his jacket and pulled out Yulo's black data disk, the one with all the secrets from the camps. They want her silenced, he said. But if the truth goes public, if the galaxy sees what they did to her kind, Jera's eyes widened. It could break their control. There's a relay tower in the mountain, Ray said. I helped build it. I can upload this disk. She grabbed his hand. You'll be killed before you reach it. I'll take them with me if I have to, he said, staring at Linra. Let she grow up free. Jera cupped his face. Come back to us. He kissed Linra's forehead. Be brave, little one, just like your mama. Then he ran. Here it turned, joining the fleeing colonists. Behind her, smoke filled the sky and gunfire echoed. Hours passed. Ray reached the tower. Broken, dusty, but still alive. He climbed it with shaking hands, ducking under fire. Blood on his shirt, heart pounding. He jammed the disk into the old interface and slammed the broadcast switch. Screens across the sectors lit up, showing experiments, cages, babies crying, and names. Names like Linra. The truth went out. The Empire couldn't deny it anymore. Days later, the colony was silent. The patrols had vanished. No one came to a race. No more hunters were sent. At the edge of Hollow Nest, a woman stood alone holding a child. Her eyes on the horizon, Jera watched every sunrise, waiting. And then one day, limping and bruised, Ray came walking back, one hand holding his ribs, the other waving tired lie. Ray broke free from her mother's arms and ran to him. Papa! She cried. He fell to his knees and caught her, holding her tight. Jera ran too, tears streaming, and wrapped her arms around them both. They had lost everything, but together, they had built something new. Not just survival, a future.